Hello and good evening, everybody. The 14th of September 2021. Welcome to our online meeting tonight. We should have been in Cambridge this week, but unfortunately with COVID we can't. I hope everybody at home is staying put, not going out too much, covering up with your face mask when you go to the supermarket, because we have to beat this so we can get back to level 1 and get enjoying our hobby again. Just got a few things to say about the upcoming AGM. We still have it planned for Saturday the 16th of October, but we're just holding off on that one. It's a big hope that we may be able to have it on that date. If we can't, we'll have to look at a later date, and we've already made steps, and the committee are looking into this at the moment. So there will be a probable delay on the AGM, but it's too early to call it just yet. Now, the trip that the GVR are running on the 2nd of October for RES members to bring them out to Waiuku for a lovely, delicious buffet lunch at the Cosy Club, that one is a little bit up in the air at the moment too, but I'm sure we will be able to contact everybody by email in the next week or so when we do know what's happening with COVID after next Tuesday. You never know, we may go straight back to level 1 or 2. Miracles can happen. Recently, the GVR have bought another DC class locomotive. It's currently in Wellington and Hutt workshops, and it will be delivered to the Glenbrook Village Railway very soon by Kiwi Rail. I'd like to comment this has been funded by one of our members, and we'd like to thank everyone for their support for this, in particular that member. More details will no doubt come out in the future, but that now gives us 2 DBRs and 2 DCs, which we will undoubtedly be using in the mainline fleet in the future. Glenbrook have also hired a carriage, AL1991. It's been hired to Kiwi Rail again for use on the Whangarei work trains. And for those of you that don't know what this carriage actually does, it carries the men and supplies on the track gang. It is a combined carriage and guards van, which means it's got a guards compartment at one end of it, so they can put all the gear in it, and it goes on the back of the work train and is towed by the work train to the work site, provides transport for the staff. The GVR team have laid some clear plastic over the carpet of this carriage to look after it. This is the second time it's actually been hired to Kiwi Rail. The first time it came back absolutely spotless, and the RES and the GVR are very, very happy to be able to help the big railway when their need is for an extra vehicle, because they're running so many work trains at the moment. And it also brings in a small income for the GVR. So I hope you all enjoy tonight's program, and with that, we'll catch you at the next meeting. Thank you and good evening, everybody.
Easter 2002 marked a milestone in the history of the Railway Enthusiast Society and the Glenbrook Vintage Railway. To celebrate this milestone, the Glenbrook Vintage Railway staged the Festival of Steam, the biggest live salute to steam in the Auckland area. Thursday the 28th of March was set aside for the rail fans who had travelled from around the country to capture the various goods and mixed trains with 7 visiting steam locos on hand. Steam Incorporated's DA 1410 departs Glenbrook Station with a mixed train including 2 passenger cars that carried the rail fans. The car van Tainui was built at the Newmarket Workshops in 1903. The dining car Manakura was built in 1896 at the Hillside Workshops. The Festival of Steam was overseen by Ross Crook, the GVR's marketing manager, and attracted a large contingent of rail fans eager to capture every moment. A67 from the Ocean Beach Railway in Dunedin hauled a ballast train with the only example of a 6-wheel Clemenson passenger car built in 1879. Y542 and vintage guards van from the Museum of Transport and Technology in Auckland followed with a goods train. BA 552, leased to mainline steam from Les Hostek, is the only member of a class of 10 locos to be preserved. WW480 was the GVR's first steam loco purchased and restored for operating over the line from 1977. Lunch was provided for the rail fans at Glenbrook Station, as a scale model of a Shea Bush Loki provided live action on the station platform. In the yard, 480 sat simmering quietly. BA 552 and WW 480 double heading with a runner wagon between the locos. NZR's first mainline diesel-electric loco was the 15DE class introduced in 1952. DE 507 heads a typical NZR ballast train of that era. 47 years earlier, Derek Cross captured DE 507 with a ballast train on the service siding connecting the old and new lines at Mangaroa before the opening of the Rimutaka Tunnel. The highlight of the day was 3 members of the J-Class triple-heading a long goods train. In November 1965, the Railway Enthusiast Society ran a triple-header North British JA-Class passenger excursion from Auckland to Hamilton, and 37 years later, they were to repeat the spectacle on the Glenbrook Vintage Railway. Led by N. Welsh's mainline steam JB 1236, Steam Incorporated's J1234 and the Glenbrook Vintage Railway's JA 1250. Climbing from Cornwall Road to Shakespeare Road, the 3 J's make 2 run pasts. Further up the line, the triple header approaches Morley Road in the late afternoon sun with 3 run pasts. With Easter weekend open to the public, the first loco heads up the grade to Glenbrook Station to run the Glenbrook shuttle train in the yard. This is Bertha, an Orenstein and Copel loco built in 1904 in Munich. The second train to Glenbrook was led by A67 and WW480, with Y542 tagging on the rear. This was the start of what was to become a busy 4 days for the volunteers at Glenbrook, with a variety of mixed and passenger trains. Bertha and Y542 provided a free push-pull shuttle service in the Glenbrook station yard. The first passenger service to depart from Glenbrook was a mixed train hauled by WW480 and A67. A67 is in regular service at the Ocean Beach Railway in Dunedin and is the oldest operating loco in New Zealand. The weekend was to see large crowds riding the trains as A67 and WW480 arrive at Glenbrook. Pleasant Point Railway's RM4 being turned. Before arriving at Glenbrook, the railcar was fitted with an ingenious hydraulic jack system that allowed it to be turned at each terminus. In the children's playground, Monty George's scale model of a Fowler traction engine provided additional entertainment. Also on show was the full-scale version, a 1903 Aveling and Porter engine owned by Hamilton Syndicate. Roy Sharman's Princess, a 3-speed single Fowler. Wardhouse and Bob Stevenson show off their 1908 Marshall double-crank compound engine. The fourth engine was this 1903 Foden. With limited seating available on the REM4, the railcar was a popular ride over the line. A67 and WW480 on their second run of the day. Following behind, RM4 climbing from Cornwall to Shakespeare Road. All trains departed Glenbrook Station every 30 minutes and crossed at Pukeowari, where the appropriate tablet for either section was exchanged. JB 1236 tender leading heads up the grade to Fernley, while RM4 waits in the loop. RM4 departs Pukeowari and receives the tablet to Glenbrook. JB 1236 with one of the many passenger services that ran in order to accommodate the huge crowd wanting to ride the railway. This was a rare opportunity for mainline steam certified crew who were driving and firing their own loco at the head of a passenger train. Bertha, now with A67 assisting on the Glenbrook shuttle. During the day, locos were rotated on the passenger services. Steam Incorporated's Wellington crew also had the opportunity to drive and fire their loco J1234. GVR's own JA1250 helping move over 8,000 passengers who travelled over the railway during the 4 days. BA 552 departs Pukeowari with one of 27 services that ran on Good Friday. A quiet time at the loco depot as the locos are prepared for the Grand Cavalcade. The Grand Cavalcade of locomotives on Friday afternoon was led by Pleasant Point Railway's replica Ford Model T railcar RM4. A67 was built in 1873 by Dubs & Co, Glasgow, Scotland. It entered service in the South Island in January 1875 and was withdrawn from service in 1967. The loco was donated by its last owner, New Zealand Cement Holdings, to the Dunedin branch of the New Zealand Railway and Locomotive Society. Y542 was built by the Hunslet Engine Company, Leeds, and entered service for the Public Works Department in October 1923. The loco was purchased by the New Zealand Railways in 1951 as a loco depot shunting engine and was sold to Wilson's Portland Cement Works in 1957. It was donated to the Museum of Transport and Technology in 1986. WW480 was built in 1910 at New Zealand Railway's Hillside Workshops as a WG class. Withdrawn from service in 1969, 480 was the first steam loco purchased for use on the Glenbrook Vintage Railway and hauled a special homecoming train from Greymouth to Auckland in May 1969. After a major overhaul at the old Papakura Loco Depot, GVR No. 1 arrived at Glenbrook on Friday the 12th of March 1976 and became the first steam loco to run over the line to Pukeowari. JB 1236 was built in 1939 by the North British Locomotive Company, Glasgow, Scotland. 1236 was passed into service at Dunedin in March 1940, shipped to the North Island in 1950, returned to the south in 1963, and withdrawn from service in 1971. 1236 was purchased by the Railway Enthusiast Society in 1972 to assist JA 1250 on the South Pacific Steam Safari delivery trip. Now owned by N. Welsh's Mainline Steam Trust, 1236 has been converted to an oil burner and is based in Auckland. J1234 is a sister engine to 1236 and was also based in Dunedin, saw service in the North Island before returning south in the early 60s. Withdrawn from service in 1971, 1234 was purchased by Steam Incorporated and is on loan to the Glenbrook Vintage Railway. BA 552 was built in 1912 at New Zealand Railway's Addington Workshops in Christchurch. It spent its last years shunting at Dunedin before being withdrawn from service in 1969 and was brought north to Te Awamutu by its new owner Les Hostick in September 1970. Now leased to Mainline Steam, the loco is based in Auckland and sees occasional mainline running. "25 years ago in 1977, the Glenbrook Vintage Railway commenced operating over part of the abandoned Waiuku branch that was closed in December 1968. In the beginning, there was gorse, some of it over 12 feet high, and under the gorse, a disused railway which had to be rediscovered. While the formation was cleared, surplus track sets and points were obtained locally from the NZR to replace old sections of track and sleepers. The first steam loco purchased was WW480 that was steamed from Greymouth to Auckland in May 1969. At the old Papakura loco shed, 480 was stripped, overhauled and rebuilt by volunteers. Easter 1970 saw the running of Operation WW644 when the GVR's second steam loco travelled from Greymouth to Auckland. At Pukeowari, work commenced on the preparation and building of the loco depot and operating headquarters. And Glenbrook became the passenger terminal. A small Ruston Hornsby diesel rail tractor was obtained from the Ministry of Works in 1971 and put to good use moving track sets, ploughing ballast and hauling passenger cars. The acquisition of 2 further steam locos saw the biggest undertaking with the delivery trip of J1236 and JA1250 that ran the successful South Pacific Steam Safari excursion from Wellington to Auckland during Easter weekend 1972. Both locos were stored in Auckland until they could be delivered to the GVR in 1973. The ex-Taupo Tautara Timber Company Malay arrived by road in June 1975. Since the opening of the Glenbrook Vintage Railway in October 1977, it has been recognised as one of the leading rail preservation operations in New Zealand. The Pukeowari workshop has facilities to overhaul the largest of the New Zealand Railway steam locos built. From these facilities, the mechanical branch completely strip, overhaul and rebuild locos and rolling stock, not only for themselves, but also for other railway preservation groups. Locos outshopped include mainline steams KA 942 in 1990. And the Silverstream Railway C847 in 1994. The steam-powered Cowans and Children crane is used by the civil engineering branch to maintain the track on which the trains run. An event that brings out the rail fans with their cameras is the running of authentic goods trains made up of rolling stock, most of it from a bygone era. In August 1998, the Glenbrook Vintage Railway started this innovative new concept of hosting a Rail Fans Day. The second Rail Fans event took place on the 27th of February 1999 and featured J1234 and JA1250. Not all the Railfans days featured ex-NZR locos. The Mallee hauled a vintage consist, including the railway's unique six-wheeled Clemenson carriage in October 2000. GVR's vintage diesel-electric DE507. Steam Incorporated's pair of restored DA class diesel electrics 1431 and 1410. JA1250 putting on a grand display on the 1 in 50 grade north of Waitangi Stream. The motor trolley, or railway jigger, is an example of a type of rail vehicle used to transport men and materials from their bases to inaccessible areas. They played a huge part in the railway system and were almost the heart and soul of each track or signals gang. A restored four-wheeler push-pull velocipede is popular with children. Work has started on extending the line a further 2.2 kilometres to a new terminus at Waiuku, part of which will follow the old formation and then divert to the Tamakai Reserve. The Glenbrook Vintage Railway is a railway that the members can be proud of, not just in the way it runs and fulfills the objectives of those members who took up the challenge so long ago, but in a way it reflects traditions of railways in New Zealand from the past. JA 1250 climbing away from Waitangi Stream with the first empty service of the day to Glenbrook, with A67 in tow. Each day, the first empty service was a different combination of loco up front, including BA 552, climbing above Morley Road with A67 and Bertha. John Pheasant set for takeoff in his vintage Tiger Moth, with Janet Ware and video camera harnessed in the front passenger seat. When conditions allowed, the Tiger Moth Club of New Zealand flew in formation over the GVR during the weekend. An aerial shot of a busy Glenbrook station yard and surrounding area. On nearby Waima's Dam, Russell Ward's 18-foot Romany single-engine steam-powered launch gave rides to the public. From the Tiger Moth, WW480 approaching Pukeowari.
Carriages on the main trunk line. On the other end of the train,
JB 1236 drifting into Glenbrook Station.
just a word about the A-class engine, the little green one, on that Glenbrook shuttle going backwards and forwards for free. The only reason is because of the enthusiasm of one 15-year-old boy, a boy by the name of Philip Riley.
John Pheasant's Tiger Moth being buffeted as it comes into land. BA 552. This is branch line running at its finest. On Normweimer's farm, adjacent to Glenbrook Station, the sound of vintage tractors ploughing the heavy ground. Down from Whangarei was a bullock team. And Clydesdale teams competing in the Clydesdale Horse Ploughing Championships that had been moved from the Waikato, especially for the Festival of Steam.
Obviously too advanced to be amateur.
With no turning facilities on the GVR, JA 1250 travels bunker leading to Fernley. Departing Pukeowori on another one of its trips, BA 552 shows off its classic lines, from mainline headlight, flange stack and triple domes, high boiler and low slung driving wheels. An interesting combination was the two tank engines Y542 and WW480 approaching Cornwall Road. we follow WW480 and Y542 from Cornwall Road to Glenbrook Station. By Saturday afternoon, the weather had closed in, but the trains kept running to keep up with the huge demand from the public. Inside the large marquee, there was shelter from the rain and time to look over the various exhibits featuring other rail preservation groups and displays of models.
Come to the South Island. You look like you want a holiday.
BA 552 arriving at Pukeowari with J 1211 in tow. 1211 had brought a 7 total excursion train from Auckland. History was made with all 3 of the preserved J's in New Zealand at the Glenbrook Vintage Railway together. WW480 and Y542 on their second run of the day. JB 1236 and J 1234 departing Pukeowari in heavy rain that had set in. JB 1236 replaced J 1211 on the Auckland excursion train. Glenbrook Station, a hive of activity, crowds of people lining the station platform as trains arrived and departed. By Easter Monday afternoon, the rain had stopped falling as JA 1250, with cylinder cocks open, clears the road crossing. Throughout the weekend, various groups entertained in the picnic area. Over the 4 days, the Glenbrook shuttle train trundled up and down a short section of track, clocking up over 100 kilometres. A steam-powered car, mixing it with the modern motor vehicle. A classic scene West Coast style, WW480 with Manakura and Tainui. With steam escaping from the radiator, RM4 nears the end of the long climb from Waitangi Stream. Motson's Ferrymead 125 celebrations in Christchurch in 1988 has so many groups, locos and rolling stock been together at one location. For well over 100 years, steam locos had ruled the main lines and branches of the nation's railways. Their power and majesty captured the imagination of every sector of the population, but by the late 50s, the continued dominance of the steam loco was beginning to appear threatened. The diesel loco was rapidly gaining stride, and as it did, steam was disappearing. Dedicated enthusiasts have, however, rescued and lovingly restored many historic locos, carriages, goods wagons, station buildings and line-side structures for posterity. By dogged determination and sheer hard work on the part of the members over a long period of time, the Glenbrook Vintage Railway has come to be what it is today. Passengers experienced the golden age of steam when rail dominated the country's transport system. The Festival of Steam was an outstanding success that could not have been achieved without the cooperation of so many groups and volunteers who gave their time to celebrate the Silver Jubilee of the Glenbrook Vintage Railway.